The English part of the ACT exam will test for proper use of verb tenses. You'll need to identify the verb tense from a context of a sentence and keep it consistent throughout. Beware of shifts in verb tense or voice. There will be questions that test your ability to keep tenses consistent throughout a passage. Okay, we know that the ACT test is going to make sure that we're keeping verb tenses consistent. So let's look at some of the more common verb tenses that you have. Present tense, that's what's happening at this moment. Past tense, what happened yesterday. Present participle, those are the ones that end in ing. In the past participle, those are the ones that have the word have. For example, we're going to go ahead and take the verb run. In the present, I run. In the past, I ran. I am running, or I have run for the present participle and past participle. It's not that important for you to remember those words being present participle and past participle. What is important is that if you notice those helping verbs, and earlier in the section, you want to make sure that it's consistent throughout, so then that might be your choice as you're moving on. Let's take a look at a process to go ahead and figure this out. First thing you want to do is identify the verbs. If it's a verb that's being underlined and is in your choices, then you want to go ahead and figure out what the verb tense from the context of the sentence is. Make sure it's consistent throughout. So what you want to be aware of is shifts in verb tense or voice. Guarantee there's going to be a number of these on the test. Let's take a look at an example. Reading is such an important activity. When a book is having been read, it comes to life and becomes a part of a person's knowledge base. And knowing that we have to keep it consistent throughout, let's go ahead and figure out what the verb tense is. Just start looking at the first sentence. I want to go one ahead and I'm seeing the verb is. Okay, so I know I'm in the present tense. Reading is such an important activity. When a book is, all right, once again I'm in the present tense. Having been read, it comes to life and becomes part of a person's knowledge base. So now I have the present tense throughout, but my choice having been read, now I've got some helping verbs in there. Having been. It doesn't fit with is, okay? So I got to make a move. That means no change is not going to be the right answer. Read, R-E-D, is one of our choices. Cross that one off right away. So that leaves me with two things, all right? The word reading, R-E-A-D-I-N-G, and the verb read. So let's go ahead and plug them in. When a book is reading, it comes to life and becomes a part of a person's knowledge base. Now, if a book was not an inanimate object and could actually pick itself up and read it, it might make sense. But knowing that a book cannot do that, and then becoming a part of a person's knowledge base also leads me to believe that that book isn't doing something, so then reading is incorrect. Okay? But read, when a book is read, it comes to life and becomes a part of a person's knowledge base. That makes sense. It fits in with the active tense and the verb is, so our correct choice is going to be C. Even though we may speak with the one is having been read in everyday conversation, that's the incorrect choice here, mostly because we've already established that we're using the active tense and the present tense from the previous sentence. Questions that illustrate your ability to keep verb tense consistent are relatively easy because the correct answer is usually the one that sounds the most normal. However, there are verbs that do not adhere to the typical tense forms. These are irregular verbs. The best review strategy is to look over the list of irregular verbs provided on the website and note which ones you may use incorrectly, and then study those troublesome words. Just keep in mind that the exam will test your ability to choose the correct form of verbs, both regular and irregular, by keeping the tenses consistent with the other verbs around the underlined selection.